And this is the KIRK School of Law, and I got to open this up. I just got in here. I'm working off the cuff here, and we're going to touch on a little bit of some demographics material that I think that needs to be kind of addressed historically. Now, if you've been on my site, you're going to know that this site deals with entry points for litigation. Entry points for litigation. And while that's opening up there, I want to go ahead and get these little disclaimers out of the way. Where are they at here? Okay. Online templates, get that out of here. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to first start off with this. I got to do this. I'm going to narrow this down. This is just too much. So I'm going to narrow this down and make it more easier for the listeners to appreciate and speed up things. It says, welcome to Object Radio. Thanks for tuning in tonight's show. Our valuable life-saving topics will be on government waste, fraud, crimes, and among many other things. Tonight's show is for education and entertainment value. I don't give legal advice. If you need emergency tutoring, let me know ASAP or as soon as possible, if you would, please. Phone number 740-824-4850, or send me an email, commonlawradio@inbox.com, commonlawradio@inbox.com. Remember, information and legal advice are two different categories of information. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you need legal advice, go find someone who will give you this so-called legal advice. It could be from the elect masters of law, who are really not masters at all, trustees, stewards, because they break the rules of law all the time. If you'd like to be educated, contact the school, 740-824-4850. The law school is built on teaching you how to stand tall, not to be legal slaves, serfs, or subjects to the so-called elect masters of law, which also is a fiction as well. The law school trains people to be educated for self-taught, self-gain, self-taught. If you'd like to be confident and handle your own legal and life affairs, contact the school, 740-824-4850, or send me an email, commonlawradio@inbox.com. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Kind of the substance gives you an idea. All broadcasts shall be based on past, present, and coming wars against rights, aka trends in the news or courts. And Craig, myself, will be teaching how to stop these trends by protecting our rights and staying out of prison and jail. How to do it right, stay out of prison and jail. This includes keeping our religious freedom, family, life, and property rights intact. For most, winning the battle and war is within our reach. This being said, topics below shall enable you to learn and win from. Download MP3 and or YouTube videos. Do not sell for profit, please. Share with others. Thanks. Thank you very much. So some of the topics, okay. Topics we're going to be dealing with is biblical law and pleading out law and rights. Common law, code pleading rules and code pleading rules. Fact pleading, and every word that proceeds out the mouth of government shall not return. Maybe they like to return it all the time when they make a mistake or they catch them completely destroying your rights. We'll be talking about fictions used in court by governments, how to stop fictions and defeat them on record, including with lawsuits. Constitutional law, the nuts and bolts, how it works. This constitutional law is absolutely magnificent if you know how it works and why. You've got a lot of patriots, a lot of people believe that the Constitution has no force and effect, doesn't apply, can't use it, can't work. Well, that's just not true. The premise of a traffic stop comes from public safety, common law, and constitutional governance or constitutional framework. The whole body of traffic stop. Or what about a armed robber? You're stopping him dead in his tracks, or you're arresting him. What gives you the right to arrest him? There's a series of materials that were invoked, created, and built upon to build a framework to give you the right to do it. We call it the Second Amendment. So, in theory, the Second Amendment, the right to self-preservation, long exceeds the Second Amendment. That's true. But when we did our charters, we said we had to do it this way in order to assure that you have a right that long exceeds that. Now, people are wanting to try to take that away. That's impossible. Long exceedant to the state, Hale versus Hinkle. Constitutional law, the nuts and bolts, how it works. Statutory construction, important. I can't say no more than that. Statutory construction. I go through it about 7 hours with it, width of information. It is a very big deal. Words of art is a double-edged sword. It cuts both ways. Without this, statutes are junk. Statutory construction. Without statutory construction, statutes are junk. Courtroom procedure by mouth. Courtroom procedure in chamber ex parte hearings, which is an egregiously obnoxious. Courtroom procedures by motion with briefs and support, exhibits and rules. Affidavits spotting crimes and more crimes. Perjury by government. Removing the judge from the case. A lot of people want to get the judge off the case. I'm telling you right now, I contend that may well be a catastrophic mistake on your part. There's things happening you may not even be aware of when you're trying to remove a judge. Sometimes you want that judge to remain no matter what, even if it's egregious. Hearings in camera, hearings in open court, illegal restraining orders. Happens all the time. Allowed to contest the order. Most people don't do it, or they don't know how to do it. Contempt of court and how to avoid it. Before, during trial, there's funny objections. Appeal is a right. Right to remain silent means telling the police and others, I'm shutting up, okay, got it? Miranda versus Arizona, Westlaw keys. Do you have the keys? I got them. Winning lawful and illegal traffic stops in court. Can you win a lawful and an illegal traffic stop? Yes, you can. The constitutional material I talked about plays right into that. So is the facts, but fact pleading. Filming police the right way. You know, when you film police, you become the state's star witness or the defense star witness, and you don't want to get yourself involved in perjury, tampering with evidence, falsifying governmental documents. You don't want to get yourself involved in it. And a lot of people who film police have no idea what they're really doing when it comes down to issues of law. They have no idea. Or just the facts. Excuse me, I'm a little tired here. So keep that in mind. They have no idea. I got to turn on to make sure everything's off here. What they're really doing, and they become a witness. And the common law and the Bible compel you to testify. The Bible is really astute on you testifying. That's important. Walking, police stops, search, incident to arrest, map and Terry stop, defeating DUI, OMVI your rights, defeating those with rights, family rights, land rights, travel rights, little to zero taxes, Federal Reserve System, and the real lawsuits against said government for tax takings. You know what tax taking is? And here's how you prove tax taking. You know the government adjusts for inflation? But they're taxing you on something that's not been adjusted, and that's a takings. So think about that. The IRS, non-governmental agent, crimes and histories. Federal Tort Claims Act, sue the people. So writes lawsuits, a neat body of tort law. Now, the lawyers said it was a hybrid species of law. Okay. It works. Time to sue again. Public records request and FOIA, Title V lawsuits. A very big area is policy. Man, if you can you get my class, And we're going to go, oh, I don't want that, kingfish. We're going to go to, scroll down, chapter 13, dealing with policy. I'm telling you, consider strongly taking this class. It's 3 weeks. This is not an easy class. It's going to take some time to get past. Once you get this done, and especially if you've been engulfed or in quicksand with patriot mythology or theologies or ideologies or research, and you have beliefs and so forth, when you get done with this will profoundly change the way you execute your beliefs and understanding. It's guaranteed. There's nobody that's taken the class that says, wow, this don't work. This don't make sense. That's crazy. Everybody that's ever taken the class that I know of to this point has said, this profoundly changed the way I think. Profoundly. So keep that in mind. Chapter 13 is policy. And that is a very big deal, policy. Rules of evidence, exhibits. So I'm going to get out of there. A very big area is policy. Is it law or junk ideas masquerading to be law? It's the biggest monster spotted and defeated, works every time. Legal research, legal and general research, patriot research, and the traps and how to avoid common mistakes that cost you big time. Inmates' rights and so much more. Tutoring from the school and buying our classes. 740-824-4850. All right, with that said, I'm going to X that out and see where we are here. Now here is the website. Here's my face over here. Here's my ugly mug. You can see that. I got a little bit of scriptures over there. And you go to contact me that way. Check out the schedules. Go to the store, look at the class, take the JPEG or whatever it is, and look and see what's there. And you can call and talk to me if you're interested in the class. You can call and talk to me about them. And I'm always open to work with people to make sure they get the class. It's Mosaic Law. Now, I haven't really went over the site too much, but we're going to start diving in this. So let's take. So I'm not going to talk about store and this right here. We're just talking about this. Antichrist New World Order. Now, a lot of the patriots, a lot of people believe it's the West, and indeed, the West is trying to create a global caliphate from a Western Anglo-Saxon mind perspective. Two bodies are jockeying for global dominance. That's obvious. It's like buying real estate. I want to buy all the. It's like playing. What is the game? Me and the kids play it all the time. I'm tired, so I just kind of lost the track of it. Not Monopoly. Yeah, Monopoly. I want to buy all the big high-end properties, so when you land on it, I can clean your bank account out. So there is a New World Order. It originated in the Middle East, Nimrod, in the Caliphate, and the Muslims are always trying to create a caliphate or a global Islamic Sharia dominance world. And the West has its eyes set on that too. And so my opinion, and take it with a grain of salt, do your own research. My opinion only, is that the United States is trying. The United States, England, all of the West, and some states down in South America maybe. What they're trying to do is they're trying to reestablish the Holy Roman Empire. Now, if I had my two New World Orders, it would be the Holy Roman Empire over the Islamic Caliphate. By far. Hands down. So I think they're trying to re-seize that land to reestablish the Holy Roman Empire in those lands. Because in reality, the Holy Roman Empire is still owned, and those lands are still owned by the West. They never forfeited those lands. They were stolen from them. And those lands to this day, and you find the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem. That was a Roman fortress wall. That's not the old city King David. That's a Holy Roman fortress wall that they're preying on. That's what my research says. Now if I'm wrong, okay, well then And I'm wrong, and I'll be corrected, whatever. But nevertheless, I see a lot of that. The West is trying to create the Holy Roman Empire again. Like it or not, the United States is a direct descendant of the Holy Roman Empire. So is Germany, Britain, 5 or 6 countries in the West. How many? I've got books that describe it and the maps and everything else. They went from the Holy Roman Empire to Byzantine and Greece all up in the West, into the Western world. So I don't have all that right now. But the reality is that we're seeing the Islamic New World Order. The idea of the New World Order never came from the West. That's a fiction. Straight out lie. Don't kid yourself. Everything that we're dealing with that is conspiracy theory, most or all of it has originated from the Middle East. Middle East, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Muhammad, Islam, all of it. Zombies, cannibalism, flesh-eating bacteria, Kuru, kills your brain, you run around eating. Islam teaches eating human flesh and cooking it. Everything that our world is dealing with is predominantly a saturation from Islam. And they want to dominate that. So, Antichrist, New World Order, Armageddon, biblical modern day curses, devil, holy feast days. And I got to go in here and get these things done, and I'm going to saturate these pages for a lot of research. Islamic Democratic Party. You know, the United States Democratic Party is the Islamic Party. Is the Islamic Party. And we need to address that. We need to understand that. And everything past Reconstruction, including marriage license. You know the purpose for issuing marriage license was interracial marriage, right? That's what he said? No. No, that's on the surface. What's below that? Did you know the kafar, the kafir, the people of the book, the Jews and the Christians cannot marry without a license? Where did they get that idea from? You say, well, it's the 14th Amendment, it's interracial marriage. Let's go further than that. Abraham Lincoln looked like a Muslim, didn't he? Black hat. Where did the black robes come from? Now, if you go to the American Islam page, and I'll scroll down here to see where's it at. Let me open that back up. If you go to American Islam page, go there and take a look at this, and start looking at it. Think about what happened in 1933. Oh man, I keep doing that. Why is it doing that? 1933, what happened? Oh, they suspended the gold in HJR 192, House Joint Resolution 192, the gold and stuff. Okay, that's fine. What else happened? What else happened in 1933? Do you know what happens when you sign an Islamic contract with Saudi Arabia? Do you know what happens? Guess who the tail is? Do you know the welfare system that we got in this country right now? Guess where it comes from? It's not a communist system, but communists did in fact come from the Middle East. The structure, communist. Egypt says we are the first ones to create that. You Google that up. Egypt claims to have created communism. Now the Jews practice it, but it's a pure form or a different form than what we're doing. But think about the monetary system and the welfare state or the benefit state systems we got. Where did that come from? Where did the ideas come from? You can't say we thought that up. If you do, you're like me 10 years ago. No, that stuff wasn't thought up here. They never dreamed of thinking. They can't think nothing like that. They can't think of nothing like that. You know why that is? Because all law is adopted. All law is adopted. All right, all law is adopted. So we have feast days, Islamic Democratic Party, and that is a totally Islamic party. Just whites with suits on. That's all. Jesus Christ, we're going to be diving in that, and Mark of the Beast. We're going to be really looking at that and focusing specifically on Islam. Did you know Numbers 35, or chapter Numbers 35, 34, 35, 1 through 34. Did you know there was a database identification system in Numbers? I just discovered it the other day. It dealt with the Avenger of Death, cities of refuge, because the one broadcast I did talked about that. Did you know there was database recording data and who went where and who couldn't go where and what? We write everything down. Did you know that? Now that's one element of it. Yes, there's a number attached to it, but there was a number attached to the cases with the Levites too. And there was, but one of the problems we got is we got pictures on our ID. That's a big no-no. That's a big problem. We have pictures. So that's a big problem. I'm still trying to work that out. We're not supposed to have pictures, I believe. So that's something to consider strongly. So we have Mark of the Beast. The Mark of the Beast is totally Middle East Islamic, period. Comes from the Middle East. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and King Nebuchadnezzar, Nimrod, uh, um, the idea of the Mark of the Beast did not originate from the West, and it's not the Holy Roman Empire with its mark and all that madness and stupidity. Now, if you believe that, that's fine. I don't care what you believe. I'm telling you that the concept of the Mark of the Beast never originated ever in the West. Never in a lifetime. Never, 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 never. Never did it ever originate in the West. It never has, never will. It's a Middle East or Eastern philosophy or concept that deals with taking marks and charagmas from somebody. Now, Rome had marks for convicted felons. Now, God doesn't forever. God does not practice forever penalty. It's a religious violation for felons. But we practice death penalties too under the Mosaic Law or under the Bible too. Miracles. We're going to talk about miracles as I get going here. Pagan customs and practices. A prime example of identifying these pagan practices is looking, and I'll use just one: abortion. Abortion is casting your seed to the fire of Moloch, and it's worse than that. That's actually tame compared to what this is. This is straight out human sacrifice for a monetary system. And it's genocide and it's demographics too. And it's wicked as hell and it's evil. Prophecy research. So I'm going to be relying heavily on third parties on this. I'm not a prophecy guy, and you might be a prophecy person or a prophecy guy or girl. And I'm willing to take any prophecy material, and we're going to hammer this out, and I'm going to put these materials on there. The rebirth of the Holy Roman Empire is what I think is happening. It very well could happen in the Middle East. Syria. I think they're on the chopping block for this. Rescue Christians and others. Go to Rescue Christians right on the front page here. Sabbath rest, Vatican end times, and war against God. Now there's a couple other links that's attached to those. So there's some information you can go in there and glean and take away. And what's not there now will be there. And a lot of it's links. So you can kind of see what's going on. And the reason that's in there is because we want to keep an eye on things. Let's go to common law. Common law, code pleading. Common law fact pleading. Common law fictions. Common law jury trials. Canadian common law home rule. Where does this home rule come from? This is home rules in the Bible. You know it's in Genesis. International home rule. And why is this so deadly? Home rule. Common law public policy, Australian law, UK law, Europe's fall, United Kingdom, international law, nuclear Iran, UN green jizya taxes. This is an Islamic tax by the UN to put on the rest of us. I'm not paying it, so that's what I call it when you look at it. The Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, is an Islamic tax too, and the Supreme Court says, no, that's a tax. That's a tax. and we need to understand and know that that's a tax. And when you look at it, it's up to 50%. Can you point to any system in the world that taxes at 50% to this day, right now? There's a tax system out there right now in operation, total operation, that taxes certain classification of persons at 50%. Can you identify it? I did, and I'll share it with you. It's Islamic Sharia law. The Affordable Care Act's 50%. During World War II, we was at 70, 80, 90%. Well, I understand that. Maybe. The Affordable Care Act, with the insurance models, which is a direct crime, stole from the Lombards, or the Lombards stole it from China and India, and ran it up into Europe in the West, ran it up in the West, and had to create special courts and a whole body of series of jurisprudence to deal with insurance. Insurance was in the Holy Roman Empire and the East. Came from the East. And they used it for ships and everything else. So insurance, in a sense, is a grouping, right? But the Obama healthcare and the UN green jizya taxes. The UN wants to do green taxes, so that's really at 50%, so they want to tax you. Archives, multiple topic, exotic animal wars, consumer debt, cop block archives, other media. Health rights, you go there and take a look at that. We got biblical surviving and farming. Big pharma crime, DEA, medical records, crimes against you, geoengineering, GMO, poison page. Last day nations. Vaccine crimes and water rights. And there's more going to be added to this, but I'm just one guy. I can only do so much. And we got rights and freedoms. Christianity, state religion, Louisiana. Citizenship. Debt slave, oil, gas. Debt slaves, oil and gas. I should say oil and gas, gas. Family rights, marriage contracts, government welfare traps. This is a trap. Gold contracts, just weights, gun rights. I put a lot of material in here. How to film government, inmates' rights, land rights takings, law and agency, or probate the estate. We're going to be addressing this. I got to put material in there. Real solid material, working material. Native American rights, right to homeschool, travel, sovereign patriot, veterans, videos. Government crime. CPS, crime against families, database, all seeing eye. Well, you got to check this out. Drone watch, global cartels. Now we're going to be talking about suing cartels and taking property from them, and doing it right, and then getting the hell out of Dodge. EPA, crimes against land rights, exposed the TTP, FCC takeover, home rule, IRS history and law, jails and prisons of the devil. Justice system, Obamacare, eugenics, probate the estate, police misconduct, prosecutor misconduct. Public defenders lost the war. Patriot Acts, Secret Patriot Acts 1 and 2, state terrorism, West Guerrilla Communist. So we're going to go ahead and address one article right here, and I got some cases I want to talk about. Now, have you ever seen the Ohio Constitution, 1802? So the idea is to generate more information here so you can really understand what the United States is going through. Bill Warner, Why Are We Afraid of Islam? 1400 Years, puts it in perspective quite a bit. So does Wally Chubot and Usama Dakdok. Those three guys completely annihilated much of the Patriot material for the West. And even annihilated the Protestant Reformation, a lot of it. Foreigners against whites. Criminal Act 14 provides no black or mulatto person or Indian shall be allowed to give evidence in favor of or against a white man. People versus Hall. Where'd this come from? Does anybody know where this idea comes from? Am I for it? No, because the scripture prohibits that kind of conduct. But where does the idea come from? These guys didn't think it up themselves. There's only one body of law on this planet that's in operation right now today that practices that right there, right now. right now to this day, and still and goes on and practices. It's alive. Well, it's happening right now. Do you know what that is? Islam. Civil Practice Act 394 provides no Indian or Negro shall be allowed to testify in any action in which the white person is a party. People versus Hall. The words Indian, Negro, black, and white are generic terms designating race. Therefore, Chinese and all other people not white are included in the prohibition from being witness against whites. People versus Hall. People versus Hall, excluding Chinese witnesses in suits to which white persons are parties, is affirmed. Spear versus C. Yup Company, 1859. The color, the dictum of color is not an infallible test of the competency of a witness under the acts excluding blacks, mulattoes, and Indians from testifying for or against whites. People versus Elisi, whatever. Where does this idea come from? Christians in the Middle East and whites can't testify against Muslims under Islamic courts, generally speaking. It may be a sufficient test in many cases, but only when it is so decided as to leave no doubt of the trace which the witness belong. People versus whatever. Now, if you take the class, you get this material. And this material is important because it lets you know, it gives you an idea what's going on here with our country. Where did we get these principles from? Not all of our principles are like this, and we don't practice that today, but where did that come from? And can we find that in court to this day? Do we have that in court to this day? We call it test-a-line. Well, they took this and just simply applied it to prosecutors and police, and then they create such lies and testimony that causes problem. Now, the police don't know this. The sheriff's department, the police, the SWAT teams, these guys don't know this stuff. They're not going back and looking at this history. They're not comparing this material against other legal systems across the globe. They have no idea. All they know is they're going to commit perjury and test the line, withhold evidence, and the FBI lab's going to take and do false hair samples and convict a whole bunch of people, execute people, put people on death row, and kill them. That's what the federal government does to people. The states do the same thing. Where'd they get this idea from? The idea we're sovereigns. The idea of a sovereign, where did that come from? Islam. Those people believe they're sovereigns. Says the words in favor of or against any white person in the act prohibiting persons of one half or more Indian blood or Mongolian or Chinese from giving evidence referred to the defendant alone in a criminal case. A defendant in a criminal case who is a Chinaman is entitled to produce Chinese witnesses on his behalf. The 14th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States does not conflict with the powers of the of the legislature and the exercise of its discretion to exclude Chinamen from the right to testify in state courts. People versus Brady, 1870. Overruling People versus Washington, 1869. Where do these ideas come from? Yeah, we call it perjury, testifying, and tampering with witnesses. See effects of failure to testify. I'm not going to go into this. You can read this. This is just a smidgen. This is just a tiny part of the class. So like I said, the class has got historical migration. Should I hire government? The answer is in the Bible. Constitutional research, trial notebook, code pleading and biblical law, legal research and public records, extraordinary remedies. This extraordinary remedy can be a complaint against notary publics too. Comity, grand jury, Hamel, Ryan indictments, inmates' rights, discovery by statute. Discovery by statute. Look at this. Title 37, Health and Safety and Morals. Official record, preserving and maintaining. Right to bear arms, challenge to law. Criminal records check. Availability of public records for inspection and copying. Organization of municipal courts. Municipal court definitions. Privileged communications. Final order. See this final order? This final order is catastrophic. If you don't get this, you're in a world of hurt. And better, they have to give it to you as a matter of right. Kidnapping, abduction, unlawful restraint, extortion, coercion, public records, obtaining discovery, discovery in a case, exonerate, extension of extortion, extension of credit, criminal usury definitions, extortion, extension of credit, criminal usury, evidence showing an implicit threat as means of collection. Could be arrest, imprisonment. Judges do this all the time. Then we call them debtor prisons. I talk about that in inmates' rights. We call this debtor prisons. This is very important. Definitions for sections. Trafficking persons. You know, the counties are trafficking people with the state. If they are using the extension of credit or criminal implicit threat by means of collection, they're trafficking and kidnapping. Unlawful conduct with respect to documents, pandering, obscenities, offenses against justice and public administration. Now, this is a double-edged sword. This cuts both ways. They could commit offenses too. Intimidation of attorney, victim, or witness. Have you ever been intimidated by anybody that's substantial as a witness, and the police intimidate you or doing something that caused to be intimidated? You know, intimidation could also be, I object to Social Security numbers. Well, if you don't give me your Social Security, I'm going to arrest you. Now, what is the fear of? Not only is it's like threatening Muslims to bury them in 55-gallon drums with pigs. Same principle. It's against the law. Think about that. I'm going to bury a Muslim in a barrel with a bunch of pigs and throw him in the ocean. That's what that one Navy admiral did down there. I think it was a Navy admiral. I can't remember the guy's name. It was a hell of a story. He was whacking these Muslims and burying them with pigs and barrels. And that quit the war right there. They ran off. Intimidation of attorney, victim or witness in a criminal case or delinquent child support action proceeding. Are you a witness and a victim? Can you be a victim and a witness? Now you want to define it very, very, very carefully. Retaliation. Well, I'm going to arrest you if you don't give me your Social Security number. There's no law compelling to do that. You can't be compelled to practice Social Security. It's involuntary servitude. It's the 13th Amendment violation. It violates the Constitution. Slavery is a common law crime. Retaliation, perjury, tampering with evidence, making or causing false reports of child support, child abuse, or neglect. And that actually is broader than that, but it just gives you an idea. Compounding crimes. And I call that compounding lawsuits. Disclosure of confidential information. Failure to disclose personal information. Soliciting or accepting improper communication or compensation. Dereliction of duty. Interfering with civil rights. 29, 21, 45. Now I got to go through all these attorneys and the PDFs and get rid of all this open office stuff. No public servant under color of his office, employment, or authority shall knowingly deprive or conspire or attempt to deprive any person of a constitutional or statutory right. Whoever violates this section is guilty of interfering with civil rights, a misdemeanor in the first degree. I'm going to arrest you if you don't give me a Social Security number. Really? Won't you do that? Now, the funny thing about this is these police don't know this, and the state knows this. Everybody's watching these trust funds that the federal government's just raping the trust funds. And I'm going to tell you right now, Google it up, go to the House Judiciary Committee. I think it was there. and they were talking about Social Security. Now, I don't know if it was that one. I think it was. So bear with me, or just Google up pending bill, new Social Security. God, I can't remember what. The old age. I can't remember the title of it. Darn it. So I'll give you the thumbnail of it, what I can paraphrase or memory of. So the memory of the bill that just came out, and I think it's passed or it's going to pass. It could very well could be. Is that Social Security was never meant to be a first rung or first line of retirement defense. Furthermore, it talks about, and I got the videos, furthermore, the government can take it and do whatever it wants. We're going to be talking about that. And that's why they can't compel you to give a Social Security number or use it. You can't be compelled to use a Social Security number. Now, they'll play legal tricks on you and get you in and out and mess you all up if you don't know what you're doing, which is common. They can do that. They've done it to people. They've tried to do it to me. They did it to me one time, and I fixed that problem. And I'm still working on the other part of that big problem. I fixed part of it. And they try to do those things to you, and it's interference with civil rights. Well, I'm not a civil right. Well, civil rights is nothing more than a common law right wrapped up in a tort violation. Civil rights, the 14th Amendment, civil rights is a hybrid species of tort. That's all it is. You know, I'm gonna throw pigs on your mosque. That's what they do to Muslims. And I'm gonna throw pig juice all over you. Well, that's a civil rights violation. Shall knowingly deprive or conspire to attempt to deprive any person of a constitutional or statutory right. I have a right to create a record without being intimidated and are threatened for arrest for a Social Security number. I have a right to be arrested and jailed, but I also have a right to make the record in the police reports. See, that's a double-edged sword. Nobody knows how to do that. I teach that. Well, if I'm going to make a record, well, here's the record. For the record officer, and don't tamper with that. No tampering. Tampering with records. No, it's a felony. No tampering. He created a record that was already being espoused verbally and then wrote down and committed perjury on that record. Even if you can't get him prosecuted and he's got immunity, you still sue for under the Civil Rights Act. Because your civil rights have been destroyed. Your rights, statutory rights, common law rights, biblical rights. There's all these categories of rights that people say, I don't have any, statutes don't govern me. Well, then you ain't got no rights. Because the statute was created from somewhere other than the statute. They didn't just sit down at the state legislature and think this up and say, where can we get this right from? We're going to create new rights, not hardly in a lifetime. The 14th Amendment, all that is Islamic extension of credit to the kafar and the infidel. People of the book, the Christians and Jews. Keep that in mind. I thought I'd share that with you. I'm hoping you buy this argument. Using sham legal process. Do they do this? Sham legal process, 29, 21, 52, using sham legal process. Now, I got an idiot mayor up front here, and I'm going to clean his clock. I got a mayor up front here. He's using sham legal process. Now, watch this. And he's going to get in a world of trouble. A, as used in this section, 1, lawfully issued means adopted, issued, or rendered in accordance with the United States Constitution. Notice that's first. Look what it says. A lawfully issued means adopted, issued, or rendered in accordance with the United States Constitution or the Constitution of the state, and the applicable statutes, rules, regulations, and ordinances of the United States, a state, and the political subdivision of the state. 2. State means a state of the United States, including without limitation the state legislature, the highest court of the state that has statewide jurisdiction, the offices of the elected state officials, and all department, board, officers, commissions, agencies, institutions, and other instrumentalities of the state. State does not include a political subdivision of the state. Political subdivision means a municipal corporation, township, counties, school districts, and all other bodies, corporate, and politic that are organized under state law and are responsible for governmental activities only in geographical areas, territory. It should be territories, territorial areas, authorized territorial areas, not geographical, but they're using it. I would use the other word, but are areas similar to than that of a state. Sham legal process means an instrument that meets all of the following conditions. It is not lawfully issued. Is phone conversations to landlords and property owners about their tenants lawful? It purports to do any of the following: to be a summons, subpoena, judgment, or court order, a law enforcement officer, or a legislative, executive, or administrative body. Watch this. To assert jurisdiction over or determine the legal or equitable status, rights, duties, powers, privileges of any person or property. Do you see that? Now the mayor, this idiot up front here, he's a moron. Now you're supposed to pray for your enemies and thorns and thistles, Mayor Davis. Thorns and thistles, Davis. Now he's affecting person and property. To require or authorize the search, seizure, indictment, arrest, trial, or sentencing of any person or property. Hey, I'm going to call you up on the phone. I want you to have these effects and do this to this guy and his property back here in the back. What's missing? Where's my due process, equal protection, complaint, answer, reply, discovery, summons, subpoenas, testimony, examine, cross-examine, post-conviction, appeal by right? Where's that at? Where's my certificate of service? Where's my summons and service? Where's my court order, my final appealable order? Where's that at? I called you on the phone. All these effects have that against the mayor. Here's what he's doing. He's an idiot. These people are stupid. Now, I'm not supposed to be this kind of hostile, but I'm just letting you know, think about this stuff. C, it is designed to make another person believe that it is lawfully issued. No person shall knowingly the sham legal process to be a sham legal process to do any of the following: knowingly issue, display, deliver, distribute, or otherwise use sham legal process. Or otherwise. 2. Knowingly use sham legal process to arrest, detain, search, seize any person or property of another person. What do you think happens when you get a phone call from this silly mayor up front and he's having effect in seizing your property or your tenant landlord rights? What do you think it is? A seizure, right? And there's a court order, an attachment, and the landlord's doing something because of something. 3. Knowingly commit or facilitate a commission of an offense using sham legal process. 4. Knowingly commit a felony by using sham legal process. C. It is an affirmative offense to a charge under Division B1 or 2 of this section that the use of sham legal process was for lawful purposes. You got to have due process, equal protection. Due process, equal protection. D. Whoever violates this section is guilty of using sham legal process. A violation of Division B1 of this section is a misdemeanor of the 4th degree. A violation of Division B2 or 3 of this section is a misdemeanor of the 1st degree, except that if the purpose of the violation of the Division B3 of the section is to commit, to facilitate, or commission of a felony, a violation of Division B3 of this section is a felony in the 4th degree. A violation of a Division B4 of this section is a felony of the 3rd degree. Any person who violates this section is liable in civil action. In civil action. In civil action to any person harmed by the violation for injury, death, loss of personal property incurred as a result of the commission of the offense, and for reasonable attorney fees, court costs, and other expenses incurred as a right of prosecuting the civil action commenced under this section. A civil action under this division is not exclusive remedy of a person who incurs injury, death, or loss to a person or property as a result of the violation of this section. So in other words, go file an insurance claim. Or have a new ordinance written, a new policy, and so forth, and stop that. And I'm going to be nice, and we can shake hands. And effective date 11/6/2009 or 1996. See how this is working? I hope this works for you. I hope you're getting what I'm saying. Having weapons while under disability, relief from weapons disability, injury, and intimidate or interfere with fair housing rights. See that? Contamination, substance of human consumption, or use of contamination, spreading fake report of contamination. Issue of a search warrant, 293321. Amending indictment information or bail or bill of particulars. Criminal records check. See this right here? Criminal records check 33. I love this database stuff. God, I love it. I don't know what it is about databases. Just get my fancy. I just love them. I love to crawl in there and crawl inside the guts and take my torque wrench and unbolt them crank rods and let that motor rattle around and fly by. Bang! A1, the chief administrator of any Head Start agency shall request the superintendent of the Bureau of Criminal Investigation and Investigation to conduct a criminal record check with respect to any applicant who has applied to the Head Start agency, which is like for kids, for employment as a person responsible for the care, custody, and control of a child. If the applicant does not present proof that the applicant has been a resident in the state for five-year period immediately prior to the date upon which a criminal record check is required, or does not provide evidence that within 5 years period the superintendent has requested information about the applicant from the Federal Bureau of Investigations. Now, I'm not here to tell you to act goofy with children and violate people's rights and do bad things. But you gotta have a Social Security number. That's what they always say. No, I don't. No. That's discriminatory. I still want my background check with my religious freedom rights intact and without using Social Security number. Furthermore, I want you to purge it. If you don't, I'm suing you. Because if that comes up in any case, in any way, and that's an element to the prosecution, whether it's governmental records, digital records, and it's used to prosecute me in any way, it's an element, is part of the prosecution and sentencing, I'm suing you. You can't compel me to do that. I'm not doing it. You have to be a goddamn idiot to pay into Social Security and have somebody tell you got to give me a Social Security number. I don't think so, Jack. And I have new legislation pending, a new bill written that says Social Security's junk, it's time to stop it. And I'm stopping it because God told me to. Jesus Christ said, Craig, read my Bible and stop that madness. Okay, well, okay, Jesus, I'm going to do it. Jesus told me so. In a criminal records check, the chief administrator shall request the superintendent obtain information from the Federal Bureau of Investigations as part of a criminal records check for the applicant. If the applicant presents proof that the applicant has been a resident of this state for 5 years period, the chief administrator may request the superintendent to include information from the Federal Bureau of Investigation for criminal records check. See this? Just this one chapter. We're getting in a database right here. There's a lot here to be said. A lot here to be looked at. I'm going to excel that. Criminal records check, certificate of title as evidence of ownership. What about possession? Harm to lease, motor vehicle. Process publication, that's newspaper, attorney general, notary publics. Documents, reports, and records, limited home rule government, public safety, trial procedure, evidence, affidavits, depositions, Supreme Court, contempt of court. Let's take a look at contempt of court. This is pretty neat stuff here. I like this contempt of court. Ready for this? Contempt of court, 2705. Summary punishment for contempt of court. A court or a judge at chambers may similarly punish a person guilty of misbehavior in the presence of or so near the court or judge as to obstruct the administration of justice. Acts in contempt of court. A person is guilty of any of the following acts may be punished as for contempt of court: disobedience of or resistance to a lawful writ, process, order, rule, judgment, or command of a court order. All these can be challenged. B. Misbehavior of an officer of the court in performance of the officer's duties or the officer's transactions. C. A failure to obey a subpoena duly served. Got to prove it's duly, right? Or refusal to be sworn or to answer as a witness in a when lawfully required. I defeated this in the Jerry Hackney case. I was a state star witness. Jerry Hackney and another guy, he was an auxiliary fireman, was stealing boat motors from right across the street from my house. My beagles were going nuts. I thought they were going to do a home invasion. Had they done that, they would have been a very bad day for them. I won't go into all that. But they jumped my fence and came across my yard and then took immediate right, went out the big gate, went right across the street on Melrose in Columbus, Ohio, North End, and went right to Marine Restoration and was stealing his boat motors. Now there's two guys in a van. They were stealing motors, and I called the sheriff on the police. They got him, and the court wanted me to raise my right hand and swear, and I said I can't do that, and I can't give Social Security numbers, this and that. And they was going to try to hold me in contempt of court, and I said no. I objected to it, and the judge ultimately destroyed that idea in his own mind. The prosecutor said, I ain't got no objection. Mind your conscience, Mr. Kirk. D. The rescue or attempted rescue of a person or property in custody of an officer by virtue of the order or process the court held by the officer. E. Failure upon part of the person recognized to appear as a witness in court to appear compliance with the terms of this person's recognizance. F. Failure to comply with an order issued pursuant to Section 3109, 19, 3111, 81 of the Revised Code. G. A failure to obey a subpoena issued by a Department of Job and Family Services or court or child support enforcement agency pursuant to 5103 Revised Code. H. A willful failure to submit genetic testing or a willful failure to submit a child to genetic testing as required by an order for genetic testing issued under Section 311141 of the Revised Code. Hearing. In a case under Section 250502 of the Revised Code, in charge of writing shall be filed of the clerk of court, and entry thereof made upon the journal. See this journal? Critical. And an opportunity given to the accused to be heard by himself or counsel. The section does not prevent the court from issuing process to bring the accused into court or from holding him in custody pending such proceedings. Initiative contempt action for failure to pay child support or comply with court orders. So when you get down there and you look at these contempt, I'm just going through your right to bail hearing and contempt proceedings. Here, I'm going to read this one too. This one here's a doozy. That was weird. Why did it do that? In all contempt proceedings, the court shall conduct a hearing. I had a student that the judge shit all over his rights on this. He just completely crapped all over his rights, and he had a civil rights lawsuit. At the hearing, the court shall investigate the charges and hear any answer or testimony that the accused makes or offers, and shall determine whether the accused is guilty of a contempt charge. If the accused is found guilty, the court may, see this word may, impose the following penalties. For a first offense, a fine of not more than $250, indefinite term, imprisonment not more than 30 days in jail or both. Second fine, blah blah. Third fine. And all contempt proceedings initiated pursuant to Section 2505.3031 revised code against employer, the Bureau of Workers' Compensation, or employee that is paying workers' compensation benefits, a board of trustees or other governing entity or retirement system, person paying or distributing income to obligor under a support order or financial institution that is ordered to withhold or deduct an amount of money from the income or other assets or persons required to pay support, and that fails, withhold and deduct the amount of money ordered by the support order. See all these things? These are, you say you take them basically to this. And contempt proceedings. Hit enter. And they should pursuant to this. Of the revised code. Hit enter. Against an employer. Hit enter. The Bureau of Workmen's Compensation. Hit enter. That an employer that is paying workers' compensation benefits. Hit enter. See all these elements? Bang, bang, bang. You keep doing that. Once you do that, you'll see how to break that down and see all the elements they got to meet. And then you go discuss each and every one of them, and nobody really does that. I teach it, so I'm going to discard that. At any rate, this is the KIRK School of Law. We went through a little bit of the class tonight, and I wanted to touch bases on it and let you see some of the class material. Interfering with civil rights, don't let it happen. That's closed out. Check out rescuechristians.org. Give a little donation, $1, $5, $10, $20. Save a life, please. And I'm your host, narrator Craig Kirk here. Go to contact, check out schedule. I appreciate you showing up if you're tuning in, or I appreciate you to look at the video, share with others. In that vein, we're going to go ahead and continue, and we're going to not continue. We're going to go ahead and turn off here. Yeah, that's the wrong one. And then go from there. So this is the conclusion of our show tonight. I appreciate you showing up or looking at the show, or download it, share it with people, tell people, consider taking classes. I talk about these things in the class. So, all right, with that, I'm out of here. See you tomorrow night.